Leave me alone.
All right, you guys ready? Let's have 7 o'clock. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. And as usual, we'll begin our meeting with a moment of silence. And today I'd ask you to keep in mind the 8 service members on the B-52 that crashed in California. Thank you. I need to announce that this meeting is being recorded and televised by WHCA. And then I need a motion to approve bill and payroll warrants.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to abstain. I haven't had a chance to review yet.
Okay. I need a motion to accept correspondence into the read file.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? All right. And then public forum. Anyone here to speak on anything not on the agenda? Seeing none. Seek a motion to approve meeting minutes for open session April 23rd, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Abstain.
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 Okay. Seek a motion to approve meeting minutes for open session May 4th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
3. And
Abstain.
abstain? Or,
Oh, I approved.
okay. 401. And then motion to approve meeting minutes for open session May 19th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye. There you go.
Unanimous. All right, first item on the agenda, I asked to include this. This was, it circulated a joint letter to the Inspector General's office that Carl was working on as chair with Laura Kemet and Hansen and Ryan Tressel with the school district. If you remember, the boards had collectively, the prior version of the boards had voted collectively to issue a letter. There's a draft. The real input I'm seeking from you is, this is a draft, but the Hansen's council has reviewed it. Whitman Hansen has indicated that they would like their council to review it. I was hoping that this board would be okay with us not sending it to a third council if we're okay with those two, or would we rather ask our town council to also review the letter to the Inspector General's office? So, is there any?
If we have 2 lawyers looking at it, we don't need a third.
I understand why Whitman Hansen would want it because it's asking
Right.
people to look at their books, but I think that we're covered.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear the feedback from those on the board who were here when this decision was made. In relation to that, does Chair Kement's letter support your feelings from when you voted this?
It was okay with me. I don't want to speak for Dan or Sean. Yeah.
My initial review was that it wasn't detailed enough. And then this is the second time I've seen it. They definitely added more detail as for the reasons for the purpose of the audit. So I feel like it's good that they added more detail. I could split hairs, but generally speaking, I agree with it.
Okay. And I think, just take it back a step. This is the board's asking the Inspector General to look at Whitman Hansen as part of what happened last year, transparency, how do we prevent it from happening in the future step. So the intent of this letter is just to get the Inspector General's office to agree to an audit. It's not, and to that end, I think that was where Hansen's counsel had a lot of input and suggested these might get more feedback. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think my one comment towards the bottom, it more or less says, accordingly, we respectfully but urgently request that the Office of Inspector General initiate a full audit or investigation into the district's financial practices. I'm thinking back to when I watched the Abrams Group, which was hired by the town and the select board to do an audit of the schools, right? Mm-hmm. And there was one component of that I felt as a citizen at that time watching it didn't get enough clarity, and it was regarding capital expenses. And the feedback was that the records of the town with capital items and the district's records didn't necessarily tie out. There were some discrepancies. I believe I came back and Mary Beth did confirm that those discrepancies or variances had been cleaned up, but I just wonder for us to have an awareness that as the Inspector General does this, as towns, we are somewhat involved in capital expenditures and funding that goes back and forth. So there might be additional questions that come back to the town and related to this, so to be sensitive to that.
That makes sense. Okay.
That's all I have.
All right. And that we are ready for time for the hearing.
Do we need a motion for that or no?
So that's a good question. Do I need a motion to open a public hearing?
No, I'm talking about the.
Oh, the
letter?
letter?
The letter.
No, it was just if we don't want to ask 3 lawyers to edit the same document, then
Okay.
we're good with what's at least the direction we're going right now.
Yeah,
I would like to bring it back to the full board before signing it,
Yep.
but I think technically have that authorization to sign it from the prior vote. So we'll just run it by everybody. So it is after 7:05. We need to continue a public hearing that was opened last night at 7:05 at the posted time to an audience of Mary Beth and my daughter. Continue the hearing regarding the petition of Mass Electric Company doing business as National Grid and Verizon New England, Inc. to install 2 JO poles, page 55-2 and page 55-4 on South Avenue and Charles Street, and to relocate 1 JO pole, page 55 on South Avenue, beginning approximately 100 feet east of the center line of the intersection of Linden and Broad Streets, and to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires in the above or intersecting public ways for the purpose of making connections with such poles and buildings as each of said petitioners may desire for distributing purposes. So,
you want a motion?
I don't think we need a motion. We're continuing the hearing now, so.
Oh, okay.
Right? So, I believe you're the petitioner.
Yes, Jared Aker, representing National Grid at 100 East Ashland Street in Brockton. This is just to reconfigure our system around new construction that broke clearances with our existing equipment. Excuse me. So it's reconfiguring for safety measures.
Any comments from the public? Bob?
Bob Kimball, 877 Auburnville Way. Quick question is, relocating these poles, is this going to impact anything that we're doing in the future of redeveloping that area? And has that been taken into consideration?
That is a good question that I will. So you're talking about the South Avenue corridor project?
Right.
So this is further, let me get directions correct, west of the plans to begin at the end of Commercial Street. So this is further up South Ave. All right. Any comments from the board, or if not, seek a motion? No.
Question.
No, go right ahead, please.
I'm reading in the petition letter, it's page 14 of the packet.
You?
Lost my spot. Something about underground wires. Oh yeah, second from the bottom paragraph. Also for permission to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires in the above or intersecting public ways for the purpose of making connections with such poles and buildings as each of said petitioners. So will they be digging up the road, and is this, yeah.
I believe I can direct it to you, but is this the pole undergrounding through the sidewalk into the building, or is this another?
Not as far as I know. I think that might be standardized language to cover our general scopes of work that we do, because
They have to do it.
we do a variety above and below ground.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not necessarily that you're installing underground wires anywhere, it's the structure of the pole and so forth. And
Cor- My understanding is that's correct for this project. I don't believe there's any underground work that's happening. This is all going to be other than the poles being set in the ground.
Okay.
Should be all above.
Thank you.
Mary Beth, do you have something else, or?
No, I just wanted to, the check that the town needed to receive for this was received this morning, so
Excellent.
that's great.
So then is there a motion to approve the request from National Grid and Verizon?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And then new business, Eric Dresser, WHCA Community Media Modernization Mass Access. Thanks for coming, Eric.
So I put a packet up in front of most of you there. There was also a news story that was just on Boston 25 last week. What timely opportunity that was. So I did forward that to Justin and asked him to forward it to the rest of you. Hopefully you got a chance to see that, because in about 3 minutes it did a very good telling and explanation of kind of what's going on. But I did make up this little infographic here for you, but basically I think you likely all already know who WHCA is. We're televising tonight's event. Obviously, you see us at the community events around town. But one of the big challenges that we face that is largely unseen is the big challenge of the change of how people traditionally tune in and watch their local programming. Yes, historically, I know when I was growing up, it was all through cable. That was how you got it. That was the only way you got it. These days, we've seen a reduction of cable subscribers by in excess of 50%, and a lot more people going to streaming services, Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, Disney Plus, things like that. So with that change in subscriptions, that changes what trickles down to an organization like WHCA, or like all of us, 250 odd community media centers in Massachusetts and beyond just Massachusetts. This is a nationwide, if not global, phenomenon that we're watching happen. So why this matters is obviously it gives us less resources to do what needs to be done. We all just got through seeing everything about the budgets and the rising costs in expenses and all of that. And so obviously this is something we have to work through, and we want to just try to catch up and sort of modernize the way that the funding comes to community media centers. But none of that stuff happens quickly or very easily. So Mass Access, and I'm a former board member of that organization, we've been working since I was on that organization's board to put forth legislation that will help and modernize the way that that funding trickles down to community media centers. And so much the way I could really get into the weeds and describe how it works now, but effectively anybody who subscribes to Comcast, the cable portion of their bill, just under 5% of that comes back to the towns to do what WHCA does. But if you don't have cable at home, you don't pay into that system. You likely still tune in through YouTube or other places like that and benefit from the information that's out there, but you're not necessarily paying into the system. What this new legislation seeks to do is a portion of the revenues earned by your Netflixes, your Disney Pluses, folks like that, would be able to come back to the state. And a portion of that funding would come to WHCA, and actually a portion of that funding would come to the municipalities, and a portion of that, 1% of the 5, or one of the 5%, would stay with the state to administrate all of this. So it would all be realizing revenue that we're not seeing, which would really help to bridge a gap and bring us to the level that we really ought to be at to do what we're doing. So back in late January, I happened to see that our colleagues in Quincy, QATV, the counselors, or one of the counselors for Quincy City Council, put forth a resolution to support that legislation that's up on Beacon Hill, and just generally to kind of support the concept and the ideology of supporting community media and modernizing the funding to allow that to happen. So I put in that packet a copy of that Quincy resolution. It is like a page and a half or 2 pages long, so you wouldn't have to do anything to that version, but we know we've heard your wonderful support over the years. We're proud to do what we do, honored to do what we do, but if there is an opportunity to kind of put that into any sort of writing or resolution that might help and further lend support to this legislation, that is, we're coming to the end of the legislative session, and this might be the third swing of the bat of the third legislative session that I think we've gone through. So this seems the closest we've seen yet, but certainly that local endorsement would go a long way. And so that's what I kind of wanted to do, is give you a little bit of that. There's a lot more detail on here, and you know, we're an open book. We're in media, we're in communications. So if you go to our website, any more information about us is there. I did give Justin a freshly printed copy of our 2023 report that we did as part of our cable license renewal. So for any of the newer members who want to bone up on some of what WHCA has done, or nuanced. You're free to flip through that. There's a copy on our website as well. But I'm happy to take any questions about that or any other actions you guys might want to take.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, with this legislation, if it passes, does it have any effect on the cost that the people that have Comcast?
Services, not on Comcast. And probably not necessarily on Netflix or Hulu or whatever that might be.
Right.
The case could be made that if Massachusetts and California and Virginia and all the 50 states start to collect a fee back, and it wouldn't be a tax, but if there was that fee everywhere, they might say, we got to do something to compensate for this. But I think we're already seeing those costs and subscriptions to Netflix rise. What we're not necessarily seeing is that any of those increases in costs are going back to the communities where they're running, these cables through that allow them to, well, they're not running the cables, but they're using the same cables that Comcast has to pay to use and to install. And that same product is getting to your households through just a different part of that cable, or through wireless, which is itself going through cables as well to get to its broadcast points. So this is, again, just kind of trying to modernize because the distribution process has changed. But I don't think it's going to be a necessary immediate correlation to any rate increase for
Yeah,
subscribers.
because I understand, like my kids, they have cable channels, right, and they pay for it.
Yep.
But Comcast, I mean, we pay for it through our bill,
Correct.
so there's no extra cost. I just don't really want it to trickle down to that, because I know that the stations that they have, they do have commercials.
Right.
Well, we don't.
And we can't, in fact, on
Right.
WHCA on the cable station. It's part of the cable license that it has to be non-commercial. We could have sponsorship and underwriting, but that has to be done sort of in the PBS model, brought to you by a generous donation
Right,
from,
that was my,
et cetera.
yeah.
Yeah.
that's my-
So, and WHCA is looking at all of those alternative revenue opportunities to make sure that we remain sustainable and can continue to fulfill our mission in the long term.
Right. Because you
But-
need funding to run that
The
station.
legislation will be a immediate help.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Sean.
Yeah, I fully support this initiative. Thanks for bringing it to us.
Yeah. Happy to.
Don.
For your revenue funding, is it solely what we appropriate at town meeting along with Hanson, because you're Whitman Hanson? Do
Yep.
you have any other revenue source?
That's all that we have now, other than having floated a balloon to try to do some alternative revenue. We have done one production over the last couple of years, just to effectively make sure that the mechanism would be in place that if we did want to, go and do like a production for hire type of thing, that wouldn't raise red flags with the auditors and things like that. Because as a nonprofit, there are certain parameters we have to work within to do all that. So sort of a test balloon, we just, tried to do that. Actually worked with the guidance counselor from Whitman Hanson High School, Ruth Carrion, perhaps her last name, was the coordinator of a conference for guidance counselors across the state. And she came to us because she was impressed with our work. And so we went in and did that, and were able to, give them an invoice and then see what that did in our books to make sure that everything kind of passed muster with our annual audit process.
So has that revenue been going down based on
We're
the,
down 20% since I started in 2017.
so my next thought then is potential regionalization larger, right? Whitman Hanson, East Bridgewater, Whitman Hanson, Abington, combined equipment, so you're not all buying the same new
Yeah,
updated equipment.
and we already do a great job with that with Whitman Hanson. And that's certainly
Regionalize.
something that we could look at. It is something that I know Pembroke did jump in with PAC TV, now the local scene. That's the new name. So PAC TV, local scene, I think it's 4 or maybe 5 communities with Pembroke built in. So it's an option, it's a possibility. Obviously, with any of that stuff, you get a little bit less personalized
Sure.
experience, I guess, but it's
But this is a
nothing's
great
off the
option.
table.
Thank you
Yeah.
for bringing
Good to
Quincy
go.
forward to that concept.
And yeah, so I did not prepare a resolution for us to consider today, but I wanted to kind of feel out the board. Is this the direction we want to take? Do we want to just individually let our opinions be known to our reps, or leave it here as a presentation of the looming crisis that
I like the
WHCA has?
resolution idea
Okay.
I agree.
So I can,
for a future meeting.
yeah, for our next meeting, prepare a simple resolution. Easy takeaway to, yeah.
Okay.
modeled like,
That's a small ask.
yeah, modeled after the Quincy resolution supporting this legislation.
And if you need anything from me, I'm an open book. Feel free to reach out by email or telephone.
Thank you, Eric.
Is that right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Write that down as well.
Just so that,
All right, and if the board is okay with it, I would like to take the executive session out of order in consideration for the attorney's times sitting in the back of the room and town employees. So, that's right with everybody here. We will need to move into executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A1, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than professional competence of a town employee, and we'll handle the second executive session immediately after. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requirements, to review and approve executive session minutes, April 23rd, 2026, and May 19th, 2026. Do we have a motion?
a motion from exec.
Second.
All right, roll call vote for exec. Chrissy?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
All right, we are in executive session. We will return to continue the meeting.
No reports.
All right. Welcome back. Thank you guys for
Should take care.
stepping out for a second while we handled the business with the attorneys. Next item on the agenda, we have consideration of 2020 fiscal 27 annual appointments. So I will first ask if there's any of these appointments on the list in our packets that we would like to hold before we approve them in bulk.
Question,
Dawn,
by holding,
I guess
you mean
separate
from this?
from the vote that we'll take to approve the rest.
Yeah, my only ask is that I had submitted to you a request for, to be placed on the Plymouth County Advisory Board.
Yes.
And Mr. Salvucci is listed as the delegate with yourself as the alternate. So I'm asking to be appointed the delegate. It's not to be a disservice to Mr. Salvucci, but I did review the Select Board's handbook, and it references that normally not more than one committee member is appointed to, or a committee member is not appointed to more than one board.
And so I am welcome to step off as the alternate. I think I've attended 2 meetings in Dan's place in the last couple of years, but
If both of us go, if the alternate and the delegate and the alternate go to the meeting, it's the delegate that can vote, and the alternate can listen and ask questions but can't vote. Because we only have 6 points. You know, that's part of, you know,
yeah, we're with 6% of the population of Plymouth County, so we get
Yeah.
that share of
So
the
many
vote
points,
of any of
right.
it, yeah.
and as I say, I've been doing it 20 years.
Every time I go, I get questions from the board if you're okay.
Yeah. But
Respectfully, I recognize your years of service and your length and your ability to be on multiple boards. You're on Old Colony Planning Council and the Joint and South Shore Tech and multiple boards that have regional impact. And it was my ask if that could be a board I could be considered for.
is there any particular reason why? Why that board?
Well, for the same reason that my liaison assignments were given to me for new areas, I'd like to learn something new.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And I think we discussed the liaison assignments. I was given conservation, building, zoning, board of appeals. So this is something that I would be interested. And I think regional impact really matters to our town, and it matters how, you know, Plymouth County supports our town, and I'd like to get involved that way.
So I'm certainly, yeah, happy to step off as the alternate if we want to find a way to shuffle both of you folks into that one or the other seat. I think that makes sense to me.
I'd want to stay as delegate.
You can stay. Don, you all right serving as the alternate to the?
I'd be happy to be the alternate, if not the delegate.
Okay. So, quick note to amend Plymouth County Advisory Board alternate delegate to be Dawn Byers instead of Justin Evans. Is there anything else in the annual reappointments list we'd like to change now? All right. Seeing none, motion to approve the fiscal 27 annual appointments as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Appreciate it. And I did not get a chance today to put together my separate list of board appointments, if we think that it can fit in the agenda under annual appointments. I'm happy to consider the stuff that the members of the select board currently serve on. So this was passed out in our liaison assignments last meeting, and it's not in our packets for this meeting. But currently, I've been serving as the select board member on the capital committee for the last 8 years or so. I would love to give that one up if anybody else is interested. Anybody interested in the capital committee? Okay. We've got, economic development committee. I think we're near the end. I'd like to hang on to that one.
Are you going in order of these? Because budget workshop was the top.
Budget workshop was the top. That we voted at the last meeting. I was going to skip over it, but is there a?
I don't know if we voted it. It felt like it was
You know
a
what?
consensus.
We did not vote it, and I think we intentionally didn't vote it out of fear of establishing a subcommittee.
Yeah, so I don't know if we're revisiting that topic. Is budget
I think we're going to revisit that topic in budget
agenda? Okay, then we
budget
can,
update, which is on the agenda.
that's fine. We can.
So, economic development, MBTA advisory, middle school building committee. I'd like to see that building open in February. It's been a long haul. Dan had previously expressed interest in staying on the rest of those. I think the other two that were on there that may be up for reconsideration, regional agreement committee. I did just attend that meeting with Mary Beth an hour and a half ago, but Frank Malisi's now the member from Hanson. I think it would be a good time for someone else to step on, so I'm happy to step off if there's any other interest. Sean?
I'd be interested in that, for sure.
Okay.
And I believe that one which was fine with me, the library, you gave it to.
I think Chrissy has the
has the
library right now.
library.
So those are liaison assignments more so than voting.
Which
Yeah.
was fine.
Yeah, but trying to share the load a little bit more than we have a little in the past. So, Sean, if that one is a vote, so we have a motion to appoint Sean to the regional. I motion to accept my resignation from the regional agreement committee and appoint Sean to the regional agreement committee.
So moved.
All those in favor? Thank you. And then currently I am the chair of the Central Plymouth County Water District Commission Advisory Board. I'm happy to continue serving on that unless someone else is interested in learning about regional water infrastructure. And if not, okay. So no,
You're kind of an expert at that, so
I was put on there because of my background in underground utilities. So yeah,
I think you're the best one for that.
yeah, it's going to be hard to find someone else.
Suggest you could learn something new on a different committee. But I think
If anyone wants to learn about it, that committee actually. So the most important thing that committee does is annually appoint or reappoint it would be commissioners of the Central Plymouth County Water District Commission, and we anticipate a vacancy due to the town's hiring of Matt Dyer as our assistant town administrator. He will step down as a commissioner at the Central Plymouth County Water District Commission. So in July, there's a tentative meeting to appoint Matt's replacement, or at least announce the vacancy. Okay. I think that is it for our board and committee appointments. I can reread the list of board and committee vacancies printed in our packet. So if anyone out in the public is interested, we have one alternate delegate vacancy for the AAA Advisory Committee, one vacancy on the Capital Committee, two alternate member vacancies for the Conservation Commission, one at-large vacancy for the Community Preservation Committee, and one Recreation Commission member for the Community Preservation Committee, one associate member of the Historical Commission, one voting member of the Recreation Commission, and two non-voting members, and then three voting member vacancies for the Cultural Council, who just had a phenomenal Whitman Day.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
There's also a vacancy on the Whitman Aid to the Elderly and Disabled Taxation Fund Committee for a member at large.
Thank you, John. And there's a vacancy on the Whitman Aid to the Elderly and Taxation Fund Committee at large.
Mr. Chairman, there's also the opening on the planning board.
And the planning board, although an elected position, does have an opening. We need to schedule a joint meeting with the planning board to fill that. Thank you, folks. Okay. And now, next on the agenda, vote to appoint the following to the Hobart Dam Replacement Committee. I'm just going to read down the list and take one vote, if that's okay with you guys. From the Conservation Commission, Ed Winnett and Brian LaPierre. From the Planning Board, Bob Kimball. From the Historical Commission, Robert Lelevre. From the DPW, Kevin Cleary. From the Council on Aging, Mary Holland. And member at large, Erica Adams. I have a motion to appoint those members.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks, for volunteering. Act on the following line item transfers and any other transfers deemed necessary. I will kick it over to Mary Beth to run us through these.
Yes. So we actually have 3 this evening. The first one is following the agenda here, $20,000 from line item 27, which is from the library, assistant library director line, and then $5,000 from the senior library technician line to the library expense line, all under budget 27. So it's $20,000 from the assistant director line, $5,000 from the senior library technician, and that's a total of 25 going to the library expense line.
Okay. And procedurally, we have to vote it, the Finance Committee has to vote it, and then we have that is,
That's correct. And these are done each year at the end of the year. These are only estimates because bills are still coming in right up until June 30th and even after June 30th. We want to capture as many of these as we can. At this meeting, we'll have it again, either if we meet June 30th or first part of July, and that will avoid us having to have something go in next year for last year.
For prior
We always
year,
have those
yeah.
P articles, so it's nice at the end of the year, but oftentimes we don't know the exact amounts. So these are estimates.
I do know that like throughout the course of the year, as department heads come to you, as I've spoken to a few, they've said, I expect to run short in expenses. I'm leaving shifts vacant in salaries to make it up. So yeah, this is something that we ask the department heads to manage, and this is them managing it at the end of the year.
They are. And so whether there's going to be money because they overestimated, left in the line it was coming from or the line it went to, it will wash back to free cash either way. So that's the first one. Do you
Can
want?
I ask a quick question?
Sure.
I remember hearing at town meeting consolidated budgets.
Yeah.
Did we vote that? And is that a case where these line item transfers are still needed?
Yeah.
I thought it was where the library had control over their salaries and expenses, and are the two
But as
lines
separate
not?
lines, they're
Separate
not.
line
They're
items.
voted separately at town meeting, so they cannot mix throughout the course of the year.
Okay.
Until this time
I remember a consolidated budget.
You're correct.
So we did go to move to consolidated budget prior to Mary Beth coming here, and it made it a lot easier because prior to that we voted telephone line,
Yeah, separate.
mailing, everything was an individual vote, and we had a lot more year-end transfers as a result.
Oh, the individual expenses themselves were all subject to a vote. Now it's just one lump sum of
Now it is expenses and salaries.
Okay,
So you can
that's,
go over one salary line, as long as you have enough in another salary line.
Correct.
But you can't have a deficit in a salary line. You have to then do the line item transfer from your expense,
Okay.
or vice versa.
I wanted to clarify
Yeah,
that consolidated thought.
Yeah, this was part of moving to best practices on that accounting side of it.
Would you like to vote these separately or all at once?
We can vote them all at once if you want to run down the list.
Sure. So the next one is 40,000 from budget line number 15, all of the services. This is for the police department, to line item 15 to their expense line. And this is 40,000 for the police. Again, they have some estimates here, so they've done their calculations, and 40,000 is expected to cover their deficit. And the third one is for the line item 20, and I'm going to read it right from here. We're taking 18,000 from line item 20, other vocational schools, to line item 20, vocational transportation. And that's just estimated. We have one bill still to come in. So the deficit, we're estimating at 18,000.
This is to put the Norfolk A.
Norfolk and Bristol now, yeah.
And Bristol.
Right, and Bristol, correct. So we actually, when we go to town meeting in May, we have an estimate on how many children students may be attending, except they take, applications right up through August. So we've already had our town meeting. We always build in a couple extra students, but then somebody could come, the 1st of August and want to go to that school.
We still partnering with Rockland, busing,
We have,
Hanson, I believe.
it's Hanson.
and Hanson.
It's Hanson for the Bristol.
Okay.
We have a contract with Van Pool for 3 years on that.
Okay.
Okay, so those are the three.
John, you have a question?
Follow-up question on the police department expenses that were submitted. I had made a request for just copies of the backup, because I know the other departments have provided backup of these expenses, and copies of the bills and the invoices. Are those not available? I got one of them.
So I did send you what the chief had sent over to me today. I forwarded that information. Did you get a second email today?
I got with one supporting invoice. Is that the only one we have right now?
And I think the chief should probably
the
speak
list.
to that. I think he's still waiting on items and information.
Yeah, high level on the $40,000 transfer.
Board. Yeah, that's a high end for us to cover everything we anticipate coming in, and that's an anticipation, so that's an estimate. I don't have the actual bill to forward to you as they come in, as they trickle in. I can send them to you individually if you want as they come in, or
Okay.
you can wait till June 30th, but one example was a cruiser repair we didn't know we were going to need to make, and that was $2,900, and that just came in this week. So things happen, and you have to make adjustments.
Yep, I understand that. And what is the last day that the town can
We need to
authorize
process that by
transfers?
7:15, is it? July 15, but they need time, the accountant's office needs time to get all the last minute bills processed and, ready for the warrant. So I believe we've had meetings as late as maybe July 8th or 9th, but we don't really want to go much later than that. This is why we're starting as early as possible and sending emails out.
Yeah.
I'd like some each meeting rather than all of them at the last minute for the accountant's office to process.
Okay. And the list we have is, some of these are, basically it's anticipated expenses. You just don't have the bills
They're
yet.
coming in, we just don't know exactly how much they're going to be. It's going to be what we anticipate, and then based on the first email that I responded to with our administrative assistant, she put down some of the more known numbers, although not exact, and then some anticipated, which one of those was a cruiser repair we were planning to come into, and we ended up getting that today, so that's why I forwarded that.
Okay. So, and then I see that, so the original budgeted expenses, I'm just trying to see this total here. So the budget expenses of 283, and you're now at 286. So these are basically expenses over the budget. So maybe costs had risen throughout the year. Do you have an idea of whether it's inflation? Things are costing more throughout the year. I'm trying to get an idea because, we're going to be looking forward to next year's budget, and maybe we haven't budgeted enough for you either at this point. So where you're transferring it from your salaries to expenses, this is more of a broad question. It's not really questioning what you're spending it on, but looking to future budgeting. And it sounds like your
we've only
expense
been-
line wasn't
yeah,
enough.
We've only been going up incrementally on the lower end. We haven't been keeping up with inflation. So this is partly a result of that, and then unexpected costs like cruiser repair. They occur throughout the year, so.
Okay, and that's and cruiser maintenance is part of your all other services expense, is what I'm learning.
All of the services is usually salaries.
That's the salaries line. the
Oh, this is the miscellaneous expense specifically.
Yeah.
Okay, it's maintenance. Okay.
Very good. Anything
Yes,
else?
We're good.
Yeah, and just, whether the money if we were to close $40,000 out in all of the services or in expense, it goes back to free cash either way within the police line. So,
Understood.
okay. We have a motion. No, we don't have a motion yet. We have a motion to approve these line item transfers.
So moved.
Second.
More discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you, folks. Set the meeting schedule. So, Mary Beth, I know we were trying to figure out one more meeting to do transfers, potentially June 30th.
Potentially June 30th.
And were there any other?
And that may be, there is a reason that we will need an executive session and we would need Peter to be there. And we could try for the 30th as well,
Okay.
if that date works. I don't know if you want to discuss this now. Maybe you want to also schedule both July and August.
That was going to be my next thought too, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that if we have a third meeting in June on the 30th, which would be close to the end of the year, hopefully get most of the line item transfers out of the way, we could probably get by with one meeting in July when several of us will probably be away. So does the 30th work? We'll start there.
Yep.
Yes.
30th.
Sean?
I can't make the 30th, but I mean, I'm away from that way on our 25th anniversary trip, so
It's a good reason.
I'm not going to make
The
it.
state lets you call in. You're more than welcome.
I have.
I mean, for year-end transfers, yeah, year-end transfers, you guys should feel welcome having the meeting, obviously. I am a little bit hesitant to not have multiple meetings in July, though. I feel like we do have some work to do, and I'd rather stay ahead of the curve than behind the curve, but I guess depending on what we have on the agenda and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'm a little worried about our next discussion is going to be town administrator search process that I would like to move quickly. So that's the thing that I think would maybe pull us back in to keep going.
Well, my suggestion, if we find dates in July that the full board is tentatively able to schedule, then I think to Sean's point, we schedule two, and if we get all the work done in one, and we work on
I think that's a good suggestion.
right? But if it's only going to be 3 of the 5 in July for a second meeting, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So maybe consider the dates.
So I'll be away the week of the 7th, that week after the 4th. And I have my federal audit the week of the 20th, so the 21st. I could be here, but I'll be,
So the 14th and 28th
That's what I
you're
was
suggesting?
would be my suggestions, yeah. Does that work for everybody else in July?
I don't go away till August, so.
Okay.
Okay. 14th and 28th.
14th and 28th. And then I guess we can revisit August dates on the 14th. Unless there's a reason to plan that far out now. Okay. Town administrative search process. Mary Beth.
Yes, so at the last meeting, you had asked me to reach out and get some quotes for a consultant to do the TA search. I did that. I reached out to 3
Yeah, Joan, you called?
companies, and I actually had,
I'm at a meeting. I'll call you back. Bye. Oh, my God.
It's fine, you could take it.
No, it's my sister.
No recess. Do you need a recess?
No. I can call her back. She's still alive.
All right, Mary Beth.
so yes, Community Paradigm,
Yeah.
and also Bridgewater State University came back, and they both came back with a quote of $15,000 if we want to do a search.
It's too much.
And, it's a comprehensive process for them. They would come in and they would interview department heads, they would interview the board, they would, prepare the ad, send it out, get everybody, then have a subcommittee to review all the documents and so forth. So the alternative is, and I did include a job description and also a job posting in the packet that, and we hadn't, it's not budgeted to do this. We did this last time before me. You did a search and had Community Paradigm do it. I believe that we budgeted about $12,000 and it came in around $10,600 for that. So if we don't go that route, then certainly we can get the ad right up. even tomorrow, we could get that on. MMA is the #1 place that anybody who is looking for a town administrator job in a municipality, that's really what they would look to first. We'll put it on our town website. We can also, you had mentioned a third place that you might like to see it as well.
Yeah, Master List has a lot of public municipal job postings as well.
We could do that as well. So whatever the board would like, I could either, contact the consultants to come out and
I think my preference would be, why spend $15,000 to slow the process down when we know you're leaving us in a couple of months? So I think that
I agree. I think it's a good benchmark to know what
it's
it
good to
would
know.
have cost.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Okay,
Reaching
no
out.
problem.
Yeah, but I think move forward with a committee.
Yeah.
And then what does that committee look like? So I believe the last time, John, were you on it?
I was on it. It was Chief Clancy. It was Carlson Lucci. It was
Frank probably is the
Lyman.
interim. Yeah.
And it was also
Oh, I think she was an at-large at the time.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
At the time, she was at Washington.
She was not. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Do we have any thoughts on the makeup of a committee to have a TA search? I certainly think Mary Beth should be on there. I certainly think at least one of us. I think a department head, and I did casually mention it to Dan Kelly, who I think we can give our chiefs a break serving on search committees, unless Chief Hanlon really wants to. Sean?
I think maybe having multiple select board members would be helpful, but I think specifically having your experience would be, like, to really drive that committee would be important. So if you played like maybe the major role and then you had a second person, I'm not really interested, but if there was another person to support you and whatnot.
Yeah. And yeah, I'd be interested in serving on that committee.
Chrissy, are you interested?
There you go. You can be on it.
Sure.
You would be?
I actually hire people at children, so
I
That's your wheelhouse.
some
I
experience
posted
with
2 jobs
hiring.
today too, so yeah, it's
Awesome. Cool.
Chair.
Yeah.
Can I give some feedback, if that's all right, on the,
on the.
I don't know if we're getting
think,
to
well,
that or,
I think next, but I think first establish the, yeah, so does that, Mary Beth, I guess we can confirm with Dan Kelly that he's interested, but he was last week. And then myself and Chrissy, I think that's a good, yeah.
so 4?
Yeah, I think if we could put more than that, because that's like the interview panel
Okay.
as well for the preliminary piece. And then,
Are there any other department heads that, maybe in addition to Dan, or is there a reason for Dan? I don't want to exclude someone, right? Are we considering DPW or, I don't know, I'm thinking Council on Aging, Library, right? Or
I
other
think
departments?
this is an ask above and beyond their day jobs, I think.
Oh, fair,
yeah,
fair enough.
yeah.
I just want to be sure we're,
Yeah, and Dan is
considering-
one of our, if not the longest tenured department head right now.
Dawn, maybe,
Dawn would be longer.
right?
Mary is probably close. It was around the same time she moved over there.
It's been a while. Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a while. But Dan has a lot of institutional knowledge.
In this building in particular, which is what I was kind of thinking about.
okay.
Um,
I'll make that motion to establish
yeah,
Town Administrator Search Committee.
yeah. Do you want to do it? And actually, there's the next question. Do we want to do it as a committee or to the probably discussion that'll come up in the budget update piece? If we form a committee, this search committee can post meetings, hold these discussions in executive session under that exemption 8. The last time we did it, we just allowed a search group to work and report back to the board independently. I think either way, this is a closed process to the public.
Right. If
Yeah.
you form a committee, you'll have to take notes.
You would take minutes in executive session, vote them subsequently. My bigger
In the
concern is
interest
the
of time.
posting. I think, yeah.
In the interest of time to move things along,
I
right?
think if we're capable of, holding these, moving the process, reporting back to the board when we have finalists, undetermined how many, but, for assistant town administrator, it's been anywhere from 1 to 3. So,
Okay.
and then those final interviews by the full board would be held in open session on air.
Do we establish a criteria for the number of finalists we want brought forward? such as there were 3 last time for the ATA.
I think we can probably talk about that after we get the job up. So I think we've got a committee. So yeah, next piece, the job description. Don, you had comments? I'd rather not to avoid forming it. Yeah.
Looking for feedback on under required qualifications and skills experience 5+ years of progressively responsible experience. I was reviewing some other job postings for a town administrator, especially where the incoming assistant town administrator, as was hired, with limited, town hall administrative experience. I'd be looking for something more robust in the qualifications, 7 to 10 years minimum. Even towns like Boxford and Middleborough, their ATA was asking for a minimum of 5 years, or 7 to 10. So looking.
Yeah, Sean.
I don't necessarily disagree, but what I'm worried about is the expectation and the salary aren't exactly in line, so I feel like if we keep that expectation as is and the salary as is, we're going to get candidates that, across the board. If we bump that up to 7 to 10 and the salary stays, just to be blunt, not very high, then I'm worried that we're going to limit the pool.
Right.
In a sense.
We also want someone qualified.
Yeah. And that's kind
Maybe
of
we need to revisit the salary. I know we're already facing a deficit, but
that's the bind.
we need someone with experience. This is not any professional disrespect to Mr. Dyer sitting in the room. But it was admittedly so when you all brought him on that, he would be learning. He would be learning, and we're now hiring who he's learning from. And that being said, I'd also like to just add a couple qualifiers in there, just some language, strong analytical, organizational communication, and leadership skills under qualifications. Right now, it simply says experience 5 years, education bachelor's degree, and knowledge, understanding of municipal law and town meeting procedures. To me, that feels weak, honestly. It's what's needed, but I'd like to put some additional qualifiers in there.
Such as?
Yeah, can you restate
Strong
that?
analytical, organizational, communication, and leadership skills. Something that on their resume will show that.
Right.
Will speak to that.
Yeah. I like that addition.
I like that.
And I kind of share Sean's concern about the years of service. I think if we set a floor and then let the process play out, we may be able to vet for people with more years of municipal experience, but
That's fair.
list that in the description and kind of tie.
There's also a discrepancy here. I just picked up on again in my notes. Education says bachelor's degree in public administration or related field plus a minimum of 4 years experience. But the line above that says experience 5+ years of progressively responsible experience in municipal management or public administration. So we want to be consistent with 5 in both of those lines.
Are those talking about the same? And I'm trying to find, do you know what page the,
Oh, it's on 59.
okay, thank you.
And maybe the 4 years is related to 4 years to get a bachelor's degree.
Bachelor's degree in public administration or related
And it
field.
seems,
Plus a minimum of, and then there's the or equivalent combination of education training. So, and one of the things I talked to Mary Beth about was something we've been trying to do at the state level is require fewer degrees if someone is able to meet that experience elsewhere. But yeah,
because professional experience can go a long way.
Right.
Depending on. Okay, that's pretty
so,
much all I had.
okay.
Biggest thing is the range.
I think it's and then that we're leaving open right now. So we do need that to post it.
We need that
By
posted.
state law.
We must put a range.
We must put a range. Do we have any starting points?
The budgeted amount for fiscal
That's
27
probably
is,
our cap, unless we want
right,
to figure something out.
is 177,467.
77.
The average, I think, right now is about 200, so, but we do need a range, so
Yeah, and I know that the the salary range that we pay a town administrator for is generally for a first-time town administrator, right? You're not going to recruit someone from another town administrator's position at 177, probably.
I know Abington went to Kingston, it was 200, and then July 1st, 214.
It's been a big shuffle.
Marshfield's 225,
Yeah,
So
even on that, yeah.
just for that range, do you want to go to the top and,
I think we should only go, the top should be at what we have budgeted right now.
Yeah.
I think it would be good just to get a pool so we can kind of see what we're attracting. So whatever, $5,000 before that, so 172 to 177, is that the range you're looking for? I don't think we should.
go $165
$10,000
to
range, yeah.
$170? I didn't know if that, now you're going into a lower,
Sure.
Yeah. I was thinking 165 to 175 or 167 to 177.
I support that.
Yeah.
167 to 177?
If it's a $10,000 range, that does not exceed our budgeted amount, right?
What happens if the applicants have no experience as town administrator?
All of the applicants have no experience as town
Right.
administrator.
Right.
I think then it would be up to this board to restart the search or come up with another option.
And
And then
what is our ability to adjust this budgeted amount? Right, that town meeting has appropriated?
So we have a consolidated budget salary line, and if we are able to, I think we could hire someone above that and know that we have to make adjustments before the end of the fiscal year. I would not want to put us in that position posting the job now, but
But to watch that budget accordingly, to know that a transfer would
Right.
need to support a salary that would be for a town administrator with experience. 'Cause we know that's what we should be looking for.
yeah.
So we may have a fall special town meeting, or you could do it within the special, a P article. at
Reserve
the
fund
annual.
transfer, which we've done for other department head hires in the past.
Right. So you have some options. So do you
Good for
want to
motion?
keep it?
So yeah, I think a motion to approve this job description with Dawn's addition and a range of 167 to 177 thousand.
Yes.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Thank you. Budget update, budget work group. Oh, actually, and before that, Mary Beth, I think you're free to post that tomorrow if you can.
Yes, we'll get that right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so to connect from 2 weeks ago, we're started the initial stages of a budget work group that would begin to look at some of the core financial aspects of the town. Two of them being the financial policy and the financial management review that Don brought up last meeting. So I started the process of just gathering some material for us to review. Financial policies, the Department of Local Services has an excellent resource where you can look at some of the formal financial policies that they've posted for other towns over the past so many years. So I think the big picture question is, how can we improve our financial policy? And then with the budget group, I think over the next period of time, we'll start to review some of the financial policy that's out there. And when you do, pretty quickly you notice that there are some that are extremely comprehensive, really well organized, like 130 pages. There's financial policy for financial planning, and there's financial policy for the way that you operate, pertaining to the operations side of the budget. And I can't get over how cool it is. Like, it gives a purpose, it gives objectives, it gives like this full explanation, it gives resources for the DLS, it gives forms. Rockland in particular has an excellent example of financial policy that I was blown away by. So I think pretty quickly, one of the obvious questions will be, we have financial policy now that we'll review that's a couple pages, hit some core things that we took from Duxbury, You know, Scott Lambiase was working for Duxbury, how many years ago?
Part of the budget
That
working
was,
group.
yeah. So that at least got us in the game of looking at financial policy in some of the core areas. But I think the obvious next step is, how do we move from that to the comprehensive policy that is extremely thorough, really informative, user-friendly for people outside of municipal government, so they can kind of learn about this stuff. Like I said, I'm blown away by it. So I think one relatively, an objective that we could do with the budget work group relatively soon is to look at some of this financial policy and then simply ask, should we be adopting a policy like Rockland's or another comprehensive policy like that? I think that's would be like an obvious first objective. And then I think what's interesting about some of our financial policy that we'd want to integrate into that is there is some policy that, when I'm thinking, say, free cash is a good example, or the use of one-time funds in the operating budget. The standard is you simply don't use it in the operating budget, which is the best practice. But what I find interesting is you look at Hanover, or you look at there's another cool one that I was looking at, Southwick, I think. Hanover was in a bind, and they have some money for that the town approved with an override, and they want to make that last for a period of time. They were using some free cash in their operating budget, and one of the things that I think it's clever that they said is they'll use it in a strategic manner, and they want to kind of taper down, which is similar to, I think it's Southwick said in their formal financial policy, they said, listen, we've been doing this practice, we've used a little bit of one-time money in the budget. Instead, if we took it all away in 1 year, we'd have this crazy correction. So how do we, over the next so many years, 5 years, how do we just not use more than we did last year and begin to taper down? So I'm not saying that's the solution, but I think there is some strategic policy pertaining to hot button issues like free cash and how we can, I think, find a compromise instead of the black and white all or nothing, but this is where we're at and this is where we want to get to. And given the context of things like Plymouth County retirement and pension liability stuff, how do we get there and keep the town in sound financial ground? Which I think overlaps with if we switch over now to the financial management review, is exactly kind of what they do. With the financial management review, there's a bunch of them online that the DLS they publish so that you can go through and review and skim through what they did when they came into a town. Basically, it's similar to the financial policy, but it's very personalized to the specific town. So, we have a question about a couple obvious ones. Free cash, what should our free cash policy be given our current context? Are we collecting enough revenue? It's like an obvious, where are we on that? Let's get a better context around that, and then let's set some policy around how do we get to where we want to be. So that is in a sense like the personalized nature of the financial management review seems like exactly that. They might choose 10 to 12 things just like that they would analyze, they would compare to other towns, they'd compare to financial policy, and then put together a plan on how you can get to where you want to be. So the financial management reviews are excellent that they have published, and it does overlap with the policy that we'd want to adopt ultimately. Similar to the discussion we were having 2 weeks ago with the financial trend monitoring system. Basically, that's just like an ongoing internal financial management review. So big picture, I think focusing on the financial policy and the financial management review for that first step, really building awareness with the budget work group, I think is really appropriate and puts us in the conversation that we very much want to be having, especially with some new administrators coming in. The question, though, that surfaced is how can we best do that in a way that's transparent? And this is really feedback from Dawn. And if you want to step in, I really support her feedback, and she can talk about that.
Open meeting. That's 2 words. So I'm looking forward to working however I can support the town, right, in this manner with the budget and with our professionals that's their expertise and that's what they do every day, along with Mary Beth, is work on the budget and so forth. But however we can support our staff with clear policies, right? And when we're using certain funds and how. So all I ask is that we do this work in open meeting and we post it as a budget subcommittee, just like the regional school district has done. So that would be my suggestion.
I'll second that.
For discussion, I would just ask that if we do that, for the sake of not creating open meeting law violations among members of the staff, we establish what the regional agreement committee has done, which is have voting members and non-voting members. So that the voting members call the meeting, vote the policies, but they bring in staff to advise them, just so that Jen and Debbie can continue to talk to each other as part of their day-to-day job.
Absolutely.
I like that idea. My only hesitation, I wouldn't even say it's a hesitation, but my feedback on top of that is, I don't think this group should have any authority from us. I think anything that we're going to do pertaining to voting on policy would be done by collectively us here. So more of the less formal nature of gathering information, building awareness, and then, obviously picking their brains, like you said, and then bringing it back to the board so that we can share with you, so that we collectively all become more aware. And then if there are votes to be had, it would be done here. But
Oh, I see. Yeah. But so then is there not if we're conducting these in open meeting, wouldn't it be an established committee that has minutes and agendas?
Yes.
it doesn't make a difference to me. I like the idea of the budget subcommittee, and I prefer to be more transparent, and I really respect Don's priority in that way. I was just thinking that it would be less formal, because I think really these decisions really for us need to be had here, and it would be more of the, like I was saying before, like the legwork kind of organizing and then sharing, but the voting would be done mostly here.
Yeah, I'm still not completely clear on
Not
what the budget subcommittee would be doing, other than hopefully not wasting your time. Right? I don't want to take our staff's time and sit in a room if it's just sort of me asking things or Sean asking. I want to be productive, but I'm still trying to find what the mission is.
And so I think the best outcome for this would be, at least on the financial policy side, because I think the financial management review is probably a separate item, but at least on the financial policy side, use this subgroup to put a recommendation together and occasionally come back to this board, seek feedback. Is this the right direction we should take it? Using the budget update, budget work group, whatever line in our agendas, but try to establish a Whitman policy to bring to this board to vote. And even if it's, with occasional feedback, and whether we do that as a established subcommittee or as a working group, less formal, I think is up to you guys, but I think they can do, if we want to have it recorded on YouTube, we're establishing policy, we can.
Can we have it as a budget work group, but still post the meeting and open it to the public and record it and that kind of thing?
I think Mary Beth asked council that question. Do you have it?
You have to form a full committee. You have to have, chair, secretary, the
Gosh.
recording secretary.
He basically had the same concern I did, which is, if you've got staff working on it,
Yeah,
they may create their own open meeting law violations
yeah.
inadvertently.
Like Jen, Deb, and I, the accountant, the treasurer, and myself sat down with your original documents that you sent, and I said, this is what we're looking to do. It will be broken down, section by section, work on one particular financial policy. It goes to the board. If the board discusses it and approves it, that piece is done. The next working group moves on to the second, and over a period of time, you'll have all those approvals that are all done in an open meeting with the board to put together a full document, a full set of documents. Peter did caution, though, that if you do have, you can have, of course, a quorum of the select board on the budget working group, of course. He said you certainly can have public meetings while you do this, but then if, say, Jen and Deb and myself, were there, you can't talk about it outside the group if it's a quorum of that
That's
group.
the worry.
And so he just cautioned about posting meetings like that.
Is there a way?
lot of 'em.
Is there a way to have the working documents be more publicly available? Toward that, if these are the policies we're pulling, and even if it's make a budget work group page on the website or something, you have the reference documents, draft policy, periodic updates, make it very open to the public. If we want to have the meetings in open, we can announce them or post them, but not have an established committee so that we try not to tie each other up. And then just have regular updates here of, as we discuss, yes, that's the direction the full board wants to move. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm trying to split hairs to get to something that meets the transparency without overburdening.
If it's a formal group, then yes, you have to post and you
Post it
timing.
with
you have to
minutes,
have
recordings under our
and
bylaws,
upload
yeah.
and, you know, do all of that. But that's fine if that's the way you want to go, so.
Yeah.
But that's if you form and establish a formal committee. And if it's an informal committee,
Well, then maybe we just do the work here among all 5 of us.
We could do that. I think because even this conversation right now is an excellent conversation that we should all be involved in. So it is work that I think we'd all benefit from. I just don't know because some of the discussions could take 40 minutes or whatnot. You know, we're kind of wrestling with some issues and we're going back and forth or reviewing documents. But as long as we're okay with that, I think just keeping it at this level would be
Yeah.
completely fine.
If we do our homework ahead of time and come in with our suggestions and,
Right.
edits to the policy,
Yeah.
I'm comfortable.
Then we wouldn't need to have a subgroup. We just keep it at this level. Yeah, I think that's.
And probably is the most transparent way to process it is, yeah, it's more of our time, which I think we can handle.
and if you do some of it ahead of time, like Don said, otherwise you're going to make your meetings.
Individually ahead of time.
Right, you're
like
going to make your
each
meetings.
research.
So long.
And we should probably, if we have specific meetings where this is going to be a larger part of the agenda, make that clear so we don't require the police chief to hang out in the back of the room for that long.
Right.
Sorry, so just to clarify there then, I would like to play a role in that. And like I've shared like some of the things that I'm interested in, say, so I can do some homework over the next, between now and our next meeting. But if there's somebody else that has an idea that they also want to contribute to, they should feel welcome doing that.
Yeah.
So
Maybe is that where right now we would sort of decide on the next agenda?
on the next agenda, in
Here's what
between.
we
yeah.
should expect to be talking about and really zero in on something to be productive,
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
such as financial policy. And I think you shared some examples and how we can.
I think it's a good place to start. So. Okay.
Can Dawn and I talk in between meetings about this?
No,
Okay.
But
There's not a majority of the board, so yeah, why not?
it's not true.
Yes. No, where
Because
is
you're
that?
sharing an opinion with one other person. It's called a serial communication. Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting close to deliberating on policy that we are.
Well, yeah, I mean,
It's,
if you come up with an idea and you want to run it by somebody,
yeah.
all set?
so, but then I would like to talk with Deb and Jen and some of the other people that were going to be involved, Matt Dyer, to keep them in the loop on some of this stuff and pick their brain in between meetings to do homework. But I think you should also feel welcome doing that. So there'd be kind of parallel conversations, in between meetings and then coming back together.
I think that's probably a good place for us to get clarification before asking you guys to. We do want to do this right.
Yeah, and would it be appropriate for the board to decide what questions we need to ask our staff, right? And for them to prepare, or like
don't
for
think-
their recommendations or expertise and their knowledge base in certain areas?
I
That's what we're,
think I don't feel the need to micromanage the next step of the.
okay.
How about in
Process.
between meetings, maybe, like, if I kind of did this one, if I said, Don, you want to, the next 3 weeks in between our next meeting, do you want to kind of spearhead that? You talk with the communication with like the staff, get some information and then share, and then maybe we'll switch, go back and forth.
I just went to municipal training on Friday, and I'm recalling that even Chrissy, help me out here. Did they say, I know, one person even coming back to recommend to the board? Not that it's an open meeting law violation, but I'm struggling here because I think it was getting information individually and then I'm sharing it with you all. I think it should come directly. If the accountant or the treasurer collector has something to share, they should be sharing it with the board because you don't know what I am piecing out, how my emphasis is or what I'm saying. So
Sure.
that I don't feel comfortable speaking on behalf of, I had a conversation and here's what I got out of it, right? And it's not micromanaging the staff. It's really asking them, please share your expertise with us when appropriate. You know, it's not every meeting, but
I think
so I don't know if we're on different
we're kind of on different
here.
pages a little bit because I think when I'm thinking of a work group, like you're going to roll up your sleeves and you got to review a bunch of policy and you got to say like this kind of one I like, this one I don't, you know, so you literally might have to spend a couple hours reviewing policy. You just like what you're going to do with town administrator search. You're going to go through a ton of applications. You're going to reason through, so that we could do that here at this level, but it would take we'd be here.
And speaking to our colleagues in Hanover, they had a similar budget work group as the post override that you ran through of how do they develop that policy. That was just last year, and it was two selectmen, one of whom's an attorney, so I hope was done on the right side of the law, working through this process with their staff to bring updated policy recommendations back to the board. So
That makes sense.
that is the way that I sort of envision it working, and to keep us moving forward so that we're accomplishing things in the weeks between our meetings.
So what are we doing now? Are we going to have a subgroup then? A working group?
I think I'd like to, but it probably is worth following up on that. Mary Beth, I can't find that email from Peter. Do you have any idea where it is?
The one from,
But at least on the informal budget work groups, what is the correct line to draw? I think if we get at least an opinion on this is what we can work on to bring back into public meetings with the board between two board members.
basically, he said, if you form a formal committee and you
Yeah.
vote on that with the members, like we just established the Hobart Dam Committee or whatever, then that's a formal committee. You post the meetings, you have the minutes, you upload it, you have to do all that. He said, if it's not a formal committee, and then it's just a working group that can get together and you don't have to go through all of that. But you certainly could have it open to the public if you wanted to, but he cautioned advertising something open to the public too often. Because if you're having that, then it really is a meeting and the people can't get together and speak,
Right, you're now locking them in.
off,
Yeah.
right, off topic,
Because these meetings will be during the day. So,
Well, I would hope that they would be during the
Right.
day,
For-
absolutely.
yeah.
Staff,
For our
yeah.
staff, so we're
Yeah.
not requiring them to do other nights. And I think that the decisions are really all made here.
Yeah.
But to try, I would think, it's just my opinion, but to, like you said, run through all the different policies, and you're doing that when we have this agenda full of other business we have to take care of, your meetings are going to run hours
Yeah.
when you're dealing with the management pieces. And then you mentioned maybe something next meeting, but now, Sean, I know that you're very interested in this, but I think the 30th,
You won't
you're
be
not
here.
here.
Can't do it on the 30th,
Right.
but
Yeah.
but I think aside from the 30th, I think generally speaking, having
Wheels are turning here.
Yeah.
So it's whether or not you want to have an informal group or a formal group, and then whether or not you want it open, or the open part is when it comes in front of the board.
yeah.
What if it was Sean and I as the budget subcommittee, and sometimes we could post a meeting and it's the two of us just sitting here discussing if someone wants to walk in, and we don't have the staff as part of the committee, but could they be asked at some point, would like some input on XYZ?
Depending on what you're,
That's all right, except it then creates challenges on either of you discussing anything outside. If it's a two-member committee, you guys generally can't speak about anything outside of posted meetings
right.
on that subcommittee.
True.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't.
Yeah.
That's part of.
Oh, yeah, no, it's following the open meeting law, yeah.
Discuss, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I think that might make sense, yeah.
Gives us a chance, like we say, to work collaboratively and discuss them, to bring back here. Am I gonna,
I think that makes sense to me.
Cool. Now we'll start with that. If it doesn't
it
seem
doesn't feel right, or,
right, then we'll switch it
Yeah.
up. Yeah. I'd rather slow down and get it right than move forward too quickly and get it wrong. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So do we want to vote to establish a budget subcommittee of Sean and Don?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Get a second?
I'll second that, but if you vote for a subcommittee of 2, then that makes the committee. Does that mean it's actually, you have to take, record, does that have to be recorded
We need to record it.
and all that? So I
Take
mean, if you're
minutes,
just
post
saying,
agendas.
yeah, it's just 2, two members.
Just do a consensus that 2 people will be getting together and not make it a formal.
Right. So by voting it in, it's a formal committee. So we got 2 volunteers that want to do it.
Keep going back and forth on this.
Yeah.
Is it a formal committee or is it not a formal
But
committee?
they just said they wanted to get together and, go over things, and
with a posted meeting, though.
For a work group, can we still post it? Invite the public if they want to come? We can do that.
You can, I think it basically makes it a committee and
then you have to establish chair.
Yeah,
People
there are
need-
no
yeah.
work groups. It's my understanding from the MMA training I went to on Friday. You're either meeting with 2 people and posting a meeting, or you're not. Or you're breaking open meeting law.
We have department head meetings, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the schools have them too. We get together and those aren't open.
That's not elected officials.
Oh,
No, I don't.
Yeah,
Don's
that's-
there.
yeah, school
That's
committees
kind of
are
like what your priority is, then I don't mind moving into that realm. Let's make it a subcommittee.
if you guys are okay with the posting, recording, taking minutes, that we'll keep moving the ball forward. And if it becomes a burden, we can revisit it, but I think that's a good place to start.
Okay.
So, we have a motion and a second. Dan,
Yeah.
okay. So then all in favor of budget subcommittee?
Fine.
Thank you.
Have fun.
Okay. Mary Beth, Town Administrator report.
Okay, first thing is Good Energy National Grid. So National Grid has filed and the Department of Public Utilities has approved a residential basic service rate of 17.29 kilowatts for the upcoming period of August 1st through January 31st. This means that Whitman's default program that we have for the municipal aggregation that we started back in October, we have a rate of 14.184 kilowatts. So we'll be paying 3.106 cents less than the National Grid during the 6 months. So National Grid sets their rates for 6 months at a time. Now, there is just a note here from Good Energy saying that one component of this rate is still pending final approval by the DPU. Therefore, the actual rate may change slightly before the price takes effect on August 1st. But we locked in with, when we did this program, the rate was good, so we took advantage of a 50-month lock-in, which is longer than, oftentimes it's 3 years or so. But we took advantage, so it looks like, if you're in this, and it would have to be an opt-out if you didn't want to be in it. So it's working for us right now, which is a little good
It
news.
certainly is.
Still winning.
We're winning. We're winning.
Yeah, Bob. Actually, and while you're walking to the podium, probably a good time to say I do work for the Department of Public Utilities in the Pipeline Safety Division. No involvement whatsoever in electric rate setting. So,
When we first started this, we're all talking open government, and we was told that it would be on the website, what our rate is and what the public utility is. I don't see it on the website,
Okay, I
and
would-
it should be on the website. That was a promise to us, and we haven't seen it. Thank
Okay.
you.
thank you.
Because Good
Yeah,
Energy.
Good Energy manages a
Manages
website, but
that.
we have to make sure that it is,
Yep. They
linked on our
manage that
website.
On their website, so we'll,
yeah.
okay.
And also worth saying that only applies to the supply side of the bill, which is just National Grid passing the cost that they get from their power plants on to.
And we have
use this,
Dynergy.
where we have a Dynergy long-term contract where we know what we're going to pay.
Okay. Next item is the DLS budget bylaw and financial management review. You asked me to reach out to the DLS, DOR. I did. I spoke with Zach Blake last week. He said that they really don't do budget bylaws because bylaws is set at the town level, but they certainly could send us a few budget bylaws from other towns. They said that they have quite a few requests in the queue. And they certainly, and I'm waiting for an email from him, but he said they would be looking at probably next April before they got to Whitman to do a financial review. It's not an audit, it's a financial management review. He said there's no surprises. He said what they would do is they'd come out first and they would talk to all the department heads, then they'd meet with the select board and they'd meet individually with the select board. They would want to take a look at our audit. We would send them our audit documents, our bond rating, all the basic financial information. And then they would put together, it would take them about 8 weeks once they've interviewed everybody to put together their findings. They would meet with the town. He said there'd be absolutely no surprises. It's all just good, things that they would like to see, improvements that may help. A lot of times it's on the technology side to help improve reporting or whatnot. But he said that's the time frame. He said he wouldn't want to, they have so many in the queue. He said especially with a TA going out and a TA coming in, they would never even want to come to a town that has just a brand new TAs, until somebody has the lay of the land. But he said he's projecting April would be the time frame to start the process. So I asked him to put that all in an email for me. I did check before we came up tonight, and I don't have his email response yet. But
Do you need any action from us? Still think it's worthwhile.
no,
Okay.
I don't think so. Once he has that letter, and we would just say as soon as he could start on that,
Sure.
come out and interview, like April. But really, that would be, mainly he said it's the treasurer collector, it's the accountant, and it's the assessor. They would be looking at mainly those three major financial departments, and then the select board meeting with everybody, and that would be like probably on a Zoom or whatever for the board. But they would come out, and they said that when they come out and when they sit with the different departments, they know that you're going to get an email or you're going to get a phone call, and they expect you to take that email, phone call. So, they'll sit with you for quite a while, but they'll talk to all the different department heads, and then they'll go into the departments and they'll say, okay, show me how you process a refund. And you'll show them from start to finish all of the steps, and they'll go down to the collector's office, show me how you take payment or how you run a report or whatever, and they'll do that with the assessor's office. How do you process an abatement, so that they really understand every aspect of the procedure being done so that they can make proper recommendations. So no, I would say, if Zach, whenever he can fit us in.
Okay.
So once you get that information back from him, do we need to sign off on it formally? I know you submitted the request, but is there a formal procedure to
He just
get on the list?
No, right now he said I'll just send you an email with the timeline that I'm thinking about, and just how it would generally work. I'm sure maybe as we get closer, we'll probably have to sign something.
Yep.
But I think that we have enough now to just say, sure, go ahead with it.
So they're about a year with a waiting list, is what you're saying?
Right. He said with the queue that he has right now, he said we're talking about April. So,
Popular department.
yep.
you.
And the
Thank you.
next item is the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Rosemary? Yeah.
Rosemary Honahill, 405 Franklin Street. So I did review this, a lot of the ones online. I think, Sean, you mentioned earlier that they are really robust, and were you asking them for specific ones, or was he saying you only have the three departments? Because online, they're different. It's as if they designed them for the towns. So there's some level of request there. Should you be talking about what you're looking for?
No, I mean, I just basically took exactly what was requested. at the last meeting.
Okay.
Financial management review.
So it was just specifically the financial, because as Sean mentioned, some of them, of course, we're looking at this for the same thing at the school level. We might be in that queue as well. We'll find out. But, as we're developing how to move forward, but some of them are really robust and very helpful tools. I wonder, even before, when you're looking at your true budget policies, these things will be helpful as well. But thank you.
And then ABCC
Yes.
advisory.
Yes, so ABCC advisory was signed into law by Governor Maura Healey on June 8th. It's an act authorizing municipalities to opt in to a temporary pilot to extend the hours of liquor licenses and to allow for public consumption in designated districts in the summer of 2026. And so we do not currently have designated areas, from what I understand, in the town. However, we do have establishments, and our establishments close at 1 o'clock right now. So this law allows them to stay open one additional hour, no later than 3 a.m. So for our establishments, it would be going from 1 to 2. I did receive a call, and the executive admin assistant sent an email out right after this came out last week, and to the local establishments, because they can't just do that. They need permission from the board, from the licensing authority. And one establishment reached out. I had a conversation with the establishment, and they said that they spoke with Chief Hanlon, and they may be sending an email if they were interested, in case there was a big game on and their patrons wanted them to stay open. But this gentleman said that he would be at the meeting if he were interested. He did not send the email. I did not see him here this evening. I think he got from Chief Hanlon that a detail would be required. And so I'm sure the cost of the detail, or having a detail, that may be a deterrent in itself. I don't know, weighing everything out. So this gentleman didn't feel for him that he was necessarily for it. He just thought with all the games going on, there may be one particular night that he may want to extend his hours. But I haven't received any other establishments. No one's reached out to us.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's only through July 31st.
Yeah, it's a pilot through July 31st, and only 1 hour, where our latest licenses end at 1 a.m. We could extend to 2.
And they have to reach out to us.
They have to reach out to us and ask.
And they know about it.
And they know.
We've informed them, and nobody has so far.
Something to consider if it comes forward at one of the next meetings.
Okay, that's all I
Yeah,
have.
usually the only time they ask to stay open later is New Year's Eve.
Yeah, and we usually give them
We usually give them
extra hour.
the extra hour.
Yep.
So, but you're saying on a regular basis?
No. This is just through July 31st.
Yeah.
If an establishment wanted to
For the
take
World Cup,
advantage
yeah.
For the
of
World
this.
Cup.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen though. So
Yeah, I don't think anyone has reached out yet, and I think Abington has allowed the town manager to sign on behalf of the board if anyone reaches out, and the police chief is okay with whatever particular circumstance, but I don't think we need to give you that authority right now.
There's no interest so far.
Yeah.
So. Just one other item. I just did want to mention that Declan Ware, our VSO, has submitted his letter of resignation. He's had a wonderful opportunity to go to a district north of town here. It's a 3-town district. It's quite a bit more money for him. It's a wonderful opportunity. He has a young family. I wish him well. He's done an excellent job for our town. So now the issue comes up. Normally we would just go ahead tomorrow. I'd post that job and we'd get that up and going. Do we want to talk about regionalization? I don't know if that will slow, of course, the process down a little. Declan said that he would make sure that he closed out the year for Whitman with all his paperwork and the cases through June 30th. He also will get the next 6 months, they start July 1st through December. That information will be put into the system, and he's offered to even come back like on Tuesday afternoons from, I think he would get out at 3 o'clock and get here until 7:30. So he's been really great. But before I just go ahead and post the regular position, did you want to have a quick discussion on whether or not you want to look at anything else?
Yeah, Sean.
I think we should look into it, but I would really like to hear his feedback. I think hearing from Declan, knowing the nuances of if this is beneficial for this town, I think there are some towns that it may really be beneficial for, but I think Whitman, he's been here, for a couple of years. I think he could give us some good feedback, like, yeah, he really recommends it, or he really thinks, no, you really need somebody who's going to be in Whitman more as a priority. So specifically for this role, I don't think the budget should be the primary driver. I think the primary driver should be what the veterans need. And if it also happens to work with the budget to go like more regional, then I would be open to it. But if it was the other way around, I wouldn't. So.
And I will
Point of
say,
order, just, is it okay for us to discuss this? It's not specifically an agenda item. I appreciate you bringing forward his
Yes.
resignation.
The team-
Town administrator report, and certainly unanticipated in the last, before we posted, so, yeah, I
It's
think
not
it's
to
well.
disrespect the position
No.
by any means.
Respect that,
Just discussion-wise.
But yeah, I think,
And we did have an agreement with the town of Abington for the VSO services a few years ago. That did not.
Didn't work.
It did not work for Whitman and Abington. So then we parted ways, and I think each town felt like they weren't getting maybe
yeah,
enough.
both towns felt like they were getting the short end of that deal.
Correct.
I just, at least from my opinion, I know that Hanson and Hanover recently formed a district. Kingston and Duxbury, I think, a year ago formed a district. So it does seem like this is becoming a more popular way to manage this. And I think at least in the Kingston Duxbury setup, they managed to have a veteran service officer as well as an admin. I think there's 2 employees between the 2 towns, but it's a way to have a footprint in both buildings and continue providing the services with one registered VSO at probably the higher rate.
We
Yeah.
have discussion.
Oh, sorry. Let's with the board
Did you have
first.
something, Dan? First?
No, I was going to just verify saying that it didn't work when we had, when we regionalized with Abington.
Abington.
Because, sometimes Abington felt they were spending too much time, and Whitman and vice versa. So I think it's better that we maintain our own.
I was going to say, in many cases, I support regionalization for the economies of scale, but for this position in particular, it really requires that human element to be close by. Nice if 2 towns are supporting administratively, but my recommendation would be to post the job as is, to fill that as soon as possible. But I like your suggestion, Sean, too, to hear from Declan. The feedback from employees is always important, no matter who they are,
Yeah.
when there's turnover.
Anybody? Rosemary, you had something else?
Thank you, Rosemary Hunahill. Just want to mention that 75% of this gets reimbursed. So most of this gets reimbursed for the town. And when you have veterans that have intimate issues, knowing them, knowing your community, you're more likely able to have them come in and get them the services that they've earned. This isn't something that they're just getting for free. They've earned these things. So coming up to a stranger and talking about your health, that's hard. So keeping them in town is really important, and it gets reimbursed. When we didn't have, you can look at our own numbers for our town, when we had sort of people who, one person wasn't a veteran and one person wasn't in as long, it might have been the same, we didn't get reimbursements at that rate. Keep in mind, that money comes right back to the town. Declan has increased our reimbursement because he's been here, he's been active with our veterans. We're in a position right now where people are going off to war, so it's not like we're going to lose veterans. There's more people that are going to come back. So I don't know if this is the time to be reducing. Whether you get an extra person or not is totally due to your population, not if you regionalize. So if they had, so essentially each town would have been able to, it's determined by population, how much staff you get. So when you combine, you're going to get staff. That's what the law is.
Where I am unclear. So I believe it's only the veterans benefits that are reimbursed. It's not the salary.
Yeah, that's right. The veterans benefit is reimbursed 75%, but if you can look at the amounts, that's that much more money in town, and it's also that much more those are benefits people have earned and they're actually getting them. I think we should support that in town. Thank you.
So then I think maybe it's worth asking because Declan is also going to a district, right?
He is going to a 3-town district.
So it'll be then a
He's
third
leaving
one
next
in our
Thursday.
immediate area.
Next week.
So it probably worth, as long as Declan does not think we are ripe for a district, I think we can post tomorrow, right? Is that the feeling from the board? But if he were to tell you, it may help, maybe revisit it, see what we can do temporarily.
And see, that's what I wanted to do. The sooner we can get it posted one way or the other would be great. But of course, that would take forming a district, and that would take more.
That would take time. Yeah, it took Hanson a couple of months of an interim.
It will.
Who was the one covering both towns anyway.
I'll check with Declan.
But yeah, check with Declan, right? Is everyone okay with that? As long as, if he feels a district would benefit us, I think we think about it, but otherwise.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, and I think that is it for the agenda. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second.
All those in favor?
Say aye.
No more yarn.
Yeah. Do we have?
I'm not raising my hand, I'm just exhausted.